Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to June 15th's version of Lunch and Learn. Today, we're going to talk about unified sports, volleyball player development. So today's agenda will include discussing what unified sports is, the different types. There are 3 types we'll discuss. We'll talk a little bit about the major one, the Player Development 101. That's our big one we're focusing on right now. We'll go over some quick rules of volleyball and then the differences for player development volleyball and traditional volleyball. Then we'll talk about how to get your program started and any questions that you might have. My name is Jennifer Tresp, and I am your Training and Unified Sports Director, and I will be presenting today. So unified sports, this is a wonderful concept. It's a concept that takes people with and without intellectual disabilities, and it puts them on the same team. They're working together. They're working together to learn about the sport. They're learning about each other. So as you'll see, it's a very simple principle. They're training together and they're playing together. And this way we have a quick path to the friendship and an understanding of one another, as well as the understanding of the sport. So there are 3 types, and the first one is competition, or what we call our competitive version of unified sports. This is the one you're used to seeing at competitions. This is where we're following all the traditional rules, okay, of athletes and partners. There are no modifications other than that you have to have a 50-50 percentage of athletes and partners, okay? And we're going to follow all the rules, follow the NGBs, and all of that. So the second one is player development, and that's the one we're going to discuss today. And this is where the unified partners are actually working as coaches or mentors on the floor. So there are more athletes on the floor than there are partners, and we have some slight rule modifications. Okay. And then our final one is the recreation unified sports, and recreation has no rules. So you might want to think about this as a day when you have a pickup game for basketball. Okay, you might have all partners and 1 or 2 athletes on the team, or 1 or 2 partners and the rest are athletes. The ability levels are all different, and there are basically no rules. Okay, they're making up the rules as they go along. Okay, so that is the recreation. Okay, each time that you do hear a little ding ding on the computer, it is another coach entering for today's training. So welcome to our coaches who are just entering. My name is Jennifer Tresp, and I am your Training and Unified Sports Director, presenting on unified sports player development. I will make sure that I write down all your names for those who are attending, and we will give you continuing ed for those of you who are certified in volleyball. So again, we just covered what unified sports is, what it does for our athletes as well as the partners, and the 3 types. Okay, the one we will be focusing on today is the player development. So let's talk about player development. We'll give you a little one-on-one. It was found that there is a gap that exists between athletes changing levels, from going from individual skills to team competition. There's no place for them to kind of work on the game, learn the game at a slower pace, because they go right from those skills and they jump right into the game. Okay, so this is why player development is so important. So under player development, there's guidance of a unified partner. This unified partner acts as a coach, okay? And they're working with the athletes to help them learn the skills and learn how to make those quick decisions that are involved in volleyball. The ball's coming at them, they have to decide what they need to do, and the partners are there to help them, okay? And it's important because we want those athletes to learn what to do in those ever-changing dynamics that take place in a volleyball game. And then again, it's also for the overall team experience. There's nothing like being part of the team, Okay, and this experience is significantly enhanced for the athletes. So how does it benefit the athletes? We build their sport confidence and their skill improvement. Okay, so now they're going to start feeling comfortable being on that team. The instruction is going to occur in an interactive way. So it's going to be between the athlete and the partner, and it's right on the court. Okay, so they're going to share those on court experiences, and they're going to develop a friendship while they're on the court. They're going to learn to trust each other. Okay, the athlete will learn to trust the partner, and the partner will become a great friend to them. The athletes learn through modeling the actions of the unified partner. Okay, those partners will become role models for the athletes. They'll improve the understanding of teamwork, effort, and communication. They'll have an opportunity for skills athletes to play this team sport, and the opportunity for volleyball athletes to improve their game and play at a different level. Okay, they'll be able to play at a level that will allow them to be successful. Okay, so the role of the unified partner. So, unlike a competitive unified sport, the partner's ability levels are higher than the athletes. Okay, remember when we talked about competitive, they were equal partners on the floor. Half the team was partners, half the team were athletes. So if this was a unified competitive volleyball team, we'd have three athletes and three partners on the floor at all times. Okay, we're not going to do that with competitive. Okay, their primary role is serving as an on-court instructor and to facilitate play. Okay, they are going to help the athletes play the game so that they become comfortable with the game and learn the skills. Okay, the partners will not be peer teammates. Okay, they are not peer teammates and they will be restricted on what they can do on the floor. They will not be able to dominate the game. So a unified partner is going to need to have common sense to restrain themselves from taking the game out of the athlete's hands. And then that best outcome, what we really want to see is that the athletes play and the unified partners serve as on quote coaches during practice as well as competition. Okay, so we said that there are things that the unified partner can do, and here they are. So they cannot intentionally return the ball over the net. Okay, they cannot set out to do that. They cannot serve, they may not block the ball, and they may not favor one athlete on the team. Okay, they need to share the ball with all the athletes and work with everyone. Okay, what unified partners can do, they can bump or set the ball to an athlete. Okay, they can provide continual on-court instruction to the athlete teammates. Okay, this can be verbal, visual, and give them physical cues also. Okay, this includes where to position themselves on the court and how to execute a skill and an overall tactic. Okay, this is going to make a little more sense as we go along. Okay, so the role of the coach. A lot of people will say, well, if the partner is leading the team, what does the coach do? Okay, well, the coach still coaches. So at practice, they'll oversee the practice, they'll create the training plans, they'll work the skills with the athletes as well as the partner. And then they're going to work with the partners to learn what type of reinforcement each of the athletes need, whether it's a verbal, a visual, or a physical cue. Okay, so one athlete may do best by hearing the partner call their name and giving them cues. Another one might do better if the partner puts their hands together to signify bump or places them up in the diamond to say that we want you to set the ball. Okay, so there are different things that the partner can do, and they can give them physical cues by helping them rotate, getting them set up to serve the ball. So the coach and the partner will work together to learn what each athlete needs so the partner can coach them on the court. At a competition, The coach is there. They call the timeouts, they do the substitution, they communicate with the partner. Okay. They're not going to communicate with the athletes on the court. They communicate with the partner. When the athletes are on the court, we want we want the athletes listening to the partners, not to the coach. So the coach will just simply cheer the team. Good job, team. Way to go. But they'll communicate with the partner. Okay. The partner might be noticing that one of the athletes has checked out, and the coach might have to yell to Susie, who's the partner, Susie, Jimmy. So she'll look over to Jimmy and see that Jimmy has kind of checked out of the game, and then Susie will bring Jimmy back into the game. Okay, so they will work together. If they feel they need a timeout, they'll call it. They'll also call for substitutions. Now, the partner will look at the coach and also communicate with the coach. Maybe Susie, the partner, is saying, wow, Jimmy's got to get out of the game. He is just not involved in the game today. And that time, Susie might look at the coach and yell to the coach, Jimmy, and the coach will know that he needs to substitute them out. Okay, so the two of them will work together to ensure that the team plays the game, as well as that the athletes are receiving what they need. So just quickly, some basic rules of volleyball that we want to go over. The game is played for player development just like you would play a traditional game. Okay, so we use the rally scoring. Okay, so every time the ball is put into play, a point is awarded, whether it's to the serving team or the receiving. A match consists of 3 sets. The best of 3 wins the match. There are always 6 players on the court. We rotate when we receive the ball. Okay, we're going to rotate clockwise. Okay, we don't rotate until we receive the serve again. And each coach may call 2 timeouts per game. A match is won by the team who wins the best of 3 sets. So one set match is won by the team who scores 25 points or more, and that would be point advantage.
Oh, sorry.
It may take you to 26 or 27 points before a team wins. And again, we'll change sides at 8 points. If we're playing till 15, if we're playing to 25, we'll switch sides at 13. Okay. And then we in Pennsylvania, we do play with a time limit of 45 minutes. And during that time, we will play best of 3 at all sectionals. We normally play best of 3 at them. And at state events, we'll play best of 3 and we'll play a championship round. So you'll see that we have best of 3, which is pool player, what other people call round robin. Either way, we'll play set 1, we'll go to 25 points. Again, you must win by 2. Set 2, you play to 25 points and you must win by 2 points. And then there'll be a deciding match to 15. Okay. Then after we have jockeyed for positions through our pool player round robin, then we will play championship games, and they are 1 game to 25 points. Now, this can change depending on the time limit of the tournament, but this is our usual play. Okay, and we will also be calling the regular violations. If there's a lift, a throw, a double hit, more than 3 hits per side, touching the net, center line violation, playing out of rotation, wrong server, or a service foot fault. Those violations still do exist. It's just that the official does have the right to be a little more lenient on lifts. Okay. And they're a little more patient on the time limit too. So if the partner is helping set up a server, then they're a little more patient on the time. Once the whistle blows, they will be awarded more than that usual 8 seconds to serve, because the partner might have to be getting them adjusted. Okay, so all matches will start with 6 players. On our courts, we will always have 2 partners and 4 athletes. And a coach is permitted to get up from the bench and move around as long as they are not affecting the progress of the game. They may not coach behind the end line or the sideline opposite from the bench, and the coach is permitted to make requests for substitution. Okay. The winner of the coin toss may choose to serve, receive, or select a specific side of the court. Okay. If there is a deciding third set is necessary, a coin toss shall again be conducted with the same options available. Okay. And as always, the first server is on the right-hand side of the back of the court, and then they will rotate through as a team continues to serve until it commits a violation or the set ends. The surface alternates when there is a violation by the serving team. The ball is awarded to the opponent, who shall rotate clockwise 1 position, and the serve shall be from the serving area. And as always, stepping on or over the end line or the outside of the service area as defined by the sidelines prior to contacting the ball shall constitute a violation. Okay, these rules should all look familiar to a volleyball coach. If a team fails to serve properly, return the ball, or commits any other fault, the opponent wins the rally and scores a point. When the serving team wins a rally, it scores a point and continues to serve. Okay. A served ball touching the net and continuing over the net shall remain in play by the receiving, and the receiving team has those 3 plays to return the ball to the opponents. All right. So remember that touching any part of the net while playing the ball is a fault. Crossing completely over the center line with any part of the body except the feet will not constitute a violation unless there is interference. It is a fault to cross completely over the line with the foot or feet. A ball hitting the ceiling will be considered playable by the team causing such contact unless the ball crosses the plane of the net or contacts the ceiling after the team's 3rd contact. Any ball hitting the side or back wall is considered out. A ball landing on the line is considered in, and return of a service may occur by any legal hit. Okay, so what's different? Well, here's what's different. The team makeup. The team has a minimum and a maximum, and the minimum players on your team can be 5 athletes and 3 unified partners. Okay. Maximum is 6 athletes and 4 unified partners. So the minimum is 8 athletes and the maximum is 10 athletes. Okay. And as you can see, they're made up by 5 athletes and 3 partners, or 6 athletes and 4 unified partners. Okay. So you just need to make sure you have the 5 athletes and 3 partners. If you are not able to have 6 athletes, you still can have 5 athletes and you can still have 4 unified partners. Okay, so the starting lineup is 4 athletes and 2 unified partners. So on the court again at all times are 4 athletes and 2 unified partners. Okay, so when we talk about creating your team, we also talk about the ages on your team. So this is how things should be made, taking a look at your team. So under 18 years of age, if all your players are under 18, there should be a 4 years difference. So if your oldest player is 18, the youngest player on that team should be 14. If your oldest player is 12, you're going to be looking at 8 through 12. Okay, so this means again 4 years between your oldest and your youngest players. So if your youngest player is 12, you're going to see that the oldest player can be 16, or they can be again younger than 12. Okay, if all team members are 18 and over, there's a variance between the oldest and the youngest player should be no more than 20 years. So if your youngest player is 18, the oldest player should be 38. If they're 38 years old, the oldest, and that's the youngest player on the team, then the oldest player can be up to 20, 38, 48, 58. So 58 would be the maximum. I'm just going to repeat what I said about the players' ages for the 18 and under, because this seems to be where our biggest issues do fall. So again, under 18, maximum age variance allowed is 4 years. So this means the maximum of 4 years between the youngest and the oldest player. So if the youngest player is 12, all the players must be 16 years of age or younger. Okay. If the oldest player is 18, you can go with the 18. If the oldest, I'm sorry, is 18, then the youngest player on that team would need to be 14. Okay. Again, remember those 4 years. Okay. So serving the game, only athletes are permitted to serve. Remember, partners are not allowed to. Okay. They can serve from the regulation serve line, or the modified serve line can be used for those who have difficulty reaching the net. And the modified serve line is 15 feet from the net. Okay. The question is, are the differences in ages only for unified teams or for all volleyball teams? There is actually age differences for your traditional teams also, and they fall upon the same, almost the same guidelines as that. Okay, so if you have a team where the youngest player is 18, then the oldest should be within 20 years. Okay, you define the age of your team by the oldest player on. Okay, but for unified, we talk about the youngest player because we have the age requirements. Okay. If you go onto the SOPA website and you go to games and competition, under events offered, choose volleyball, and right there you will see the team age groups. Okay, and you'll see that they're very close to what we have here for the unified players. Remember, we want the players, the unified partners, as well as the athletes to be within the same age range, because we want them to be able to communicate with one another. We want them to have something in common to begin with. Okay, so that's why we're looking at everybody being in the same age groups. So again, for traditional, there are age groups. We've been working on enforcing those age groups, so I do recommend you go take a look at those. Yes, many of the teams are out of compliance. In the traditional volleyball, they are out of compliance. Unfortunately, when volleyball began, anyone who showed up was put on a team. We've been trying to get teams to convert to the age groups for the safety of the athletes on the team. So you will see more and more that you will hear information about ages on teams. And when you do go to state and sectional events, if your team is not in appropriate age groups, then you will be reminded about it and asked to update your teams. So please note that that is coming down the road. We have started in many of the sports and we will continue. And once again, it is for the safety of the athletes. Okay. So the modified serve line for any athlete who needs it is 15 feet from the net. Okay. Those modified lines will always be measured out on our courts, and there'll be tape on the floor signifying those lines. Okay, so rotation. So rotation is going to work a little bit different when you're looking at unified volleyball. So as you'll see that the partners will remain in spot 3 and 6. Okay, the reason they're in 3 and 6 is they're in the middle of everything so that they can assist the athletes to the left of them as well as the athletes to the right of them. Okay, the Special Olympic athletes will be in spots 1, 5, 4, and 2, and that's how they'll rotate. So after they serve, okay, in spot 1, when the next time we come to rotate, 1 moves to spot 5, 5 moves to 4, 4 moves to 2, and 2 now moves into the number 1 spot, okay, which they now have the right to serve. And the partners will simply, again, stay in spot 6 and 3, and they will help the athletes rotate, okay? So after they rotate, whoever is unified partner is in spot 6 will help the athlete in spot 1 with where they're going to serve, whether they're at the 15 modified line or if they're back behind the serve line. Okay, the unified partner can even help them get into position for that serve. Okay, in returns, it is still the 3 maximum touches on each side. There should be no partners that dominate play. As you can see in the photo, we shouldn't see anybody jumping and spiking that is a unified partner. Okay, the athlete must return the ball over the net. We do understand that sometimes the ball is going to be a hard serve and the partner is going to attempt to get that ball in the air to get it to an athlete. And unfortunately, it goes a little too far and it's going to go over the net. We understand that may occur, but we want to make sure that the partners are not intentionally putting that ball over the net and that the athletes are doing it themselves. The partner should never dominate the play, and the goal is for the athletes to have more touches on the ball than the partner. Okay? Many times people think that because the partners are there, they're going to be the one to receive a serve. If you have an athlete who can receive the serve, we would like to see that. Okay, so if a partner if a partner receives the serve, an athlete can touch it next, another partner can touch it next, but that third touch that's going to send the ball over the net should be an athlete. Okay, and if it happens that all 3 touches are athletes, that's terrific. We'll take that too. That's the goal, is that the athletes are the ones that are touching the ball and returning the ball. The partners are there to support and coach the athletes. Okay, so getting started. Before we go back there, I'm going to ask if there are any other questions. Did I confuse you anywhere? Did it all make sense? The one thing that I didn't address in there is when we have a traditional team, our lower traditional teams are the ones who usually play 3 serve, side out rotate. Okay, no point is given, but if the athlete serves 3 times in a row and they score all 3 times with no returns, then they are moved over to spot 5. Whoever was in spot 2 moves back to the serving position. We're still discussing if that is going to be an option for player development. So we have some different trains of thought on that. So we will discuss it and we will let you know if that is added to the rules. But at this time, the person in position 1 who is serving will serve until they lose serve. Okay. And any questions? Any thoughts? All right, let's talk about recruiting athletes. Here's what we're recommending. We're recommending that if you're looking at your skills athletes, we have a lot of really high level skills players who can't kind of quite get that sports confidence and that understanding of what to do on the court. Player development is perfect for them, okay? Because now they're going to have a partner on the court, a coach on the court who's going to be able to help them, okay? We would like them to have the basic skills of basketball, okay? So you're looking at them being able to serve a ball, and they can use a modified service line, but we want them to be able to have the skill. I mean, it doesn't have to be beautiful, okay, and perfect, but we want them to have the ability to put themselves into position and to know how to serve a ball. We also want them to know about the hand positions for a set and a bump, okay, so that if a partner calls out to them set, they know the hands are going up. If they say a bump, the hands are coming together. Those are the skills that a volleyball player needs to have. They also need to know ready position and what that looks like. Okay. And then we're also talking about your lower level volleyball teams. We have a ton of lower level volleyball teams where the athletes all stand in ready position. They know that ready position, but they're not quite sure what to do yet on the court. This is the perfect opportunity for those low level athletes on your volleyball team to get those partners in to increase their experience on the court, learning how to set a ball, learning how to return a ball, learning how to serve a ball, and having those people, those partners on the court who are supportive of them, who are high-fiving them when they do something good, helping them adjust to what they need to learn. Okay, so we're looking at your skill athletes and your lower level volleyball teams. Okay, we need to recruit partners. Perfect partners are siblings. Okay, they're perfect because they understand their sibling, so they understand all the players on the team. Okay, so the partner has to be able to understand that they're going to coach the athlete, and they need to be able to coach the athlete. They need to be able to control the volleyball. Okay, so they shouldn't have a wild hit. Okay, they should be able to set a ball. They should be able to bump a ball. They should be able to control it from going back over the net. They need to be able to take instructions from the coach. Okay, and they need to be able to communicate with everybody on the team. Okay. The other one that we find are great partners is if you have coaches from other sports that aren't in season. So if you have a friend who maybe coaches a soccer team, I'm sorry, trying to say softball. They coach a softball team or they coach a basketball team and they're not doing anything in the fall and their age group falls in your size of your volleyball players, this is the perfect partner because they understand sports, they understand being a teammate, they understand how to work with the athletes. There's a lot of benefits to it. Okay. And you might have a lot of assistant coaches who are hanging out now because your volleyball team, let's say all of your partners are over the age of 18, so they don't need to have a coach. So you have the 4 athletes who need a coach and you've got the head coach. So you might have an assistant coach who is really no longer needed on your team because your 4-to-1 ratio is met. So now that coach could become a unified partner. Okay, so and any assistants you have at volleyball, if they fit in your age group and they're not necessarily needed as a coach, they can become a unified partner. So competition opportunities. So what we're doing is we're looking at hopefully to have teams create the player development volleyball teams. We would like to host it at sectional and regional and state events. Okay. We will make it an opportunity at the state and sectional level. And what we're hoping for is that we have enough teams because we want to see our player development teams play against other player development teams. Okay, that is the goal. We do not want them having to play against a traditional team. We would like to see them against other player development teams. Okay, at Fall Festival, this should be a great opportunity for those lower level teams to be in a division of their own, playing other player developmental teams. Okay. So any questions? Is this something you feel like your program could do? Is it something your teams would be interested? I know we have 3 different programs on the phone right now.
I like it.
You like it, Terry?
Yeah. The thing of it is what I'm going to say is I know like a lot of the athletes they really they like to go to Villanova, Juniata, and one way of doing it is skills. And like we try it. Could we teach them like both skills and unified? And then if you guys there is no teams that go, that they can do, go to have a chance to go to Villanova for, for either one. But I do know that, watching the lower levels, two divisions at least, I think it'd be a great idea. I mean, I've always, I always thought that as long as, you have halfway decent volleyball players, not just sometimes a parent or something else that, slaps the ball and stuff like that.
Oops, I think we lost Carrie. I would tell you that every team athlete should also be training in skills. So you can still be working with the skills team members, so that if there is a possibility that there is no player development volleyball, that they would have a place to go. I can tell you right now, we do have 3 or 4 programs who are working on creating teams. So we're expecting that we are going to have competition. And if it would come to a state event and a sectional event, let's say we didn't have full competition for a division, we could work something out with the lower level teams that are there to play the player development teams. So our goal is to have player development this fall at all sectionals as well as state games. John Cleansing, I was hoping to hear from you.
That was me talking.
Oh, that was you? Oh, I thought it was. I thought Carrie was talking in there too. Okay. So what do you think of that, John?
Well, like I said, I like it. I mean, I think when you practice, you usually we practice that way. And then, you put them out and you take them to Juniata and they just, the lower ones, since we've been doing lower ones, they just stand there. But during practice, that's how we practice. Just to keep, the things going and get them some touches. So I'm good with it. It's like I said, I know that the main goal for a lot of the athletes, at least, it's, hey, I just want to go to Penn State. I want to go to Villanova.
Right.
So they, if we do that and they stuck with that, they're like, oh crap, I should just stay with skills. But
yeah. Well, and our goal is that these athletes who are so high level in skills, but don't have enough team members to make a traditional team, by adding the unified partners, we now have the opportunity to move them up to player development. And like you said, we do have a lot of lower level teams. I think we do the last 2 divisions in volleyball as 3 serve side out rotate, simply because it would be a serving game. So we would love to see those bottom 2 divisions become unified player divisions and be able to let the athletes play the game as it was meant to be.
So I'm sorry, I got kicked off. Somehow I got kicked off. One of my issues is I think I'm going to have a hard. I mean, I would love to do this, especially since we have so many athletes. The issues will be that I actually think that I will not become in compliance getting partners within a 20-year age. You know what I mean? I have some athletes who are older. I mean, listen, I've been around for a long time, and many of the athletes and I went to school together. So the fact is that a lot of my athletes and I we've been together for over 30 years. So that puts us, or any unified partners we would get, I would either have to find a whole bunch of people in my age bracket to go with my athletes, and generally that wouldn't be the case. I would be out of the 20-year age range.
Remember, you can take those assistant coaches for your team, because if you've got the 4 partners, because before on a team, you had to have a minimum of 2 coaches.
Right. But I'm still saying even my assistant coaches would be out of compliance of the 20-year age gap that is now required.
Right.
because my athletes are older, they're the same age as I am.
Right. Okay. And again, I think that's going to be a recruitment issue. And when you work on getting all your teams into compliance, whether they're traditional or unified, I think it's going to include recruitment.
So I mean, Jen, I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly because I'm really all for this. I have to go and find a whole bunch of 50-year-olds that are willing to play volleyball with my athletes.
Yes.
So that's going to be an issue.
I think that if you go to YMCA's, you're going to see that there are there's single volleyball teams, there's older volleyball teams, those type of places you can recruit from. Yeah, so it's going to find finding a new place to recruit from. One person told me they recruit from their church because their church has a lot of people in it, and there's a lot of prayer groups or Bible study groups, and they go in and they ask anyone if they're interested, and that's how they've recruited a lot of their partners. Okay, as well as YMCA's or actually, and also places, believe it or not, weight loss places that if they're going to a weight management facility, they've posted up signs, hey, we need unified partners for volleyball. And weight management doctors have recommended that to their people. Hey, you want to lose weight? Here's an easy way to do it. It's a fun way to do it, and you can help out Special Olympics. Okay, so it's going to be recruiting coming up with some new ideas and ways to recruit. But I think we can do it. I think we can do it.
I believe we can do it, Jennifer.
All right, Myra.
Keep moving. Hi, John.
Hi. So, and again, it's going to be being creative and coming up with ways to find those unified partners. Okay. And I think one of the we did 3v3 player development basketball this year, and there was one not a sectional, but a invitational that offered it, and they did have teams there, and they were very successful. But it takes a little bit for the partners. The biggest comment I got out of the coach was that you got to make sure your partners are talkative also, because they have a younger team and the partners weren't as talkative. So they had to really work on getting the partners to talk more. Okay. Because you're talking to the athletes, you're motioning to where they should be moving to. There's all kinds of communication that needs to take place, and they felt that was probably the hardest, was the younger teams, making sure the younger partners were able to help out. Okay. And Carrie, we can talk about your teams being older and the age grouping and see what we can do about the age of the partners for you. Okay, we can talk about that and see if there's any leeway in that. Okay.
Yeah, I recruit a lot from Arcadia University. So I have a lot. I mean, Arcadia's volleyball team comes out, boys, the male, women's and men's team. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they would be willing to be partners. I mean, a lot of Arcadia athletes, that's where I get a lot of my volunteers from, but they're in their 20s and a lot of my athletes are in their 50s.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they're in their 20s, you're looking at the teams you're missing the 50 probably age group, because you're hitting 20 to 30 to the 40s.
I actually think I only have on my records, I think I have 65 athletes on my books, and I think only 5 of them are under the age of 30.
Yep. Well, so yeah, your 20 to 22-year-old college student would definitely fit in that grouping.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, it's my other 60 athletes that they would not.
Right. Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. We'll talk and see if we can help you find some more volunteers.
Okay.
I'm a little with her in a certain point because my volunteers that I always loved was my high school girls
Yeah.
that I coach. And we have the older, like her, we have the older people. So, I mean, you know, I communicate with my high school girls and I can tell them what to do. When I get an older volunteer, I won't mention any names or anything like that. You know, it's tough to tell them that you want to do something a certain way, where the kids you can, but we work with it.
Well, and I think it's making sure they have an understanding that this is not about them as a player. It's about them as being an on-court coach. Okay, so we are setting up a trainings for partners. So there will be a course set up that they can go on and watch and learn about player development and what their roles and responsibilities are. Okay, so we will be doing that also. And you should have received, when you received an email about today's lunch and learn, there was also a date for a coach's training. We'll go into more detail on the game. You'll see some video on it. If you have unified, when you create your player development unified team, I'll come out and I'll help you out at a practice if you're interested. I have a couple of other people who can come out and help also, just so you can get the feel of it and make sure that it's going directly as we would like it to be. Okay, so there are some opportunities for, there's a coaches training, there'll be a partner training. I'll probably end up doing 2 coaches training. I can do one in person for you if you're interested. But we'd really like to see those lower level teams in those bottom 2 divisions, as well as your higher level individual skills athletes, giving it a try. All right. And just so you also know, we had missed our last our last lunch and learn. So we had to cancel it due to a couple of reasons. But anyway, I've had some people who've asked about it, and we will be holding it. And we will hold it on July 13th at 12 p.m., just as we host them always. That's a Wednesday at noon. And it will be called, What Kind of Coach Are You? Are you a driver, an analyzer, expressor, or are you amiable? Okay, so come and learn what kind of coach you are and
Hey,
how
Jen.
that benefits your team. Yes, John.
Okay. So when you say about the age difference, because it's just a thought that I have. When you're doing it to protect them, you know, so do you know certain younger athletes or older athletes or something like that. That's kind of like the goal. But if these are all lower functioning and the partner can't really take the ball over, what would that affect? I mean, just a thought. I mean, what I'm saying?
Yep. And there's been a great deal of discussion on it. And what the concept behind it is that the partners are able to understand the athletes where they're at. Okay, so they're able to learn from the athletes about being a good coach, being a good person, treating the athletes with respect, and all people with disabilities with respect. So the age grouping goes along with the educational portion of it. And I hear your thoughts, and like always, we'll take them back and discuss it. But this is what the protocols are right now. But I do understand what you're saying, and as always, we'll take that back and bring it up for discussion again. Any other questions before I stop the recording? All right, I will stay on for a couple minutes if anyone wants to discuss anything. But I thank you for coming on today's Lunch and Learn. And as I said, I will give you credit for a continuing ed for volleyball. Thank you. And I do hope to see you on our next presentation.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
Thank
It was
you.
amazing. It can work. We just have to work at it, and we just have to